Am I in the wrong for saying no to my boyfriend's proposal because I didn't like the way he chose to propose? My boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 25 female, have been together for just under 3 years now and are expecting our first child in March. We've been very open talking about marriage, and so the engagement itself was never going to be a surprise. He's clueless when it comes to rings and my taste in jewelry, so we decided to take the collaborative approach and we designed my ring together. In the process of all that, I made it very clear what kind of proposal I wanted. I made it known explicitly to him that I wanted to get engaged surrounded by all my closest friends and family, and that having them involved and in on the surprise was very important to me. After the ring was ordered, I was in the dark. I had no idea when it was going to be ready and no idea when he was going to propose to me, so I just waited with excited anticipation. 2 nights ago, we took our dogs on an evening walk at the beach near our house that we frequent regularly. We sat and admired the sunset as our dogs played in the ocean in front of us. After a little while, he started going on about how much he loved me and how grateful he was to have found me, and then he pulled out the ring box and asked me to marry him. It was completely unexpected and I was a bit shocked. Once I realized what was going on, I kissed him and told him how much he meant to me and how much I loved and cherished him, but that I couldn't say yes now because I really wanted my closest friends and family to share the moment with me. He got really upset and told me that he wanted to do something more intimate and keep the moment between us, and that he wasn't comfortable doing it in front of everyone. I've tried to reason with him over the past couple days, but he's given me the silent treatment for the most part. I get where he's coming from, but at the same time, I had to design my own ring because he doesn't pay enough attention to small things like jewelry I wear. So I really wanted my proposal to be something that he put a lot of thought into and make it special to me. I've heard of countless instances where a girl has turned down a partner's proposal because he did it publicly and she wanted something private, and everyone always seems to sympathize with her and her preferences and say that he should have paid attention to her preferences and requests. The way I see it, this is the exact same situation but reversed, so I don't see why what I did was so wrong.
My boyfriend's best friend tried to ruin our relationship. Story time. So a little bit of background information. My boyfriend, Steve, used to be friends with this one girl, and we'll call her Amy. Now listen, this friendship was more flirty than anything. So me and him got to know each other through spring, summer, and we would always hang out after school. And sometimes Amy would be there too. So one night, me and Steve are FaceTiming and we admitted to each other that we actually really did like each other. So the next day we went on a date and it kind of just went from there. At this point, I'd started to become really good friends with Amy too. And after that we told her we were dating, she started acting really freaking strange around me. Whenever I would see her in the corridors at school, I'd try and say, hey, have a little conversation, and she would just give me this dirty look. She'd be like, so I started saying to Steve, like, I think Amy's really mad at me for something. And he said that he would talk to her. So before me and Steve started to date, Amy had mentioned that there was this guy that she wanted to ask to prom. And she said that she'd liked him for a really long time, actually. So Steve goes to speak to Amy. Steve comes up to me. We have the debrief. And he says, right, I know what the issue is. Apparently, you were flirting with this guy that she wants to take to prom. And that is when I started to connect the dots and I was like, oh shit. And that was when I realised that the guy she had liked and wanted to take to prom was actually my boyfriend. And as he is telling me this, she starts FaceTiming me. And I'm like, hey sis, how are you? And she goes, well, I've called to just confront the situation head on. And the first thing she says is, you knew I liked Steve. She's like, how could you do this to me? I've been making a mood board about our prom experience for years. It's given crazy. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me that you liked him before we started dating? And then she says, well, what do you mean? You knew I liked him. Did I, Amy? Did I? But I was sitting there thinking about how they'd been best friends for like 5 years and nothing had happened. Basically, this isn't my fault. And then she says, I'm pretty sure if you just break up with Steve now, me and you can get past this and we can still be friends. I think that one might be a no, Amy. So I got Steve out and I was like, listen, we've talked this whole situation out. I didn't tell him all the specifics of what she said. I very much trust Steve, but I just wanted this whole situation over and done with and I didn't want to drag him into it as well. So it kind of all settled down, but then a few weeks after that, she decides to get her brother involved. We'll call the brother Dave. Amy's brother and Steve were best friends, by the way, and buckle in, huns. So Amy starts saying a load of shite about how I had been hooking up with Dave, which obviously isn't true. Anyway, one day, Dave texts Steve and is like, I find it really strange how you've cut Amy off considering your girlfriend is the issue. And apparently Dave chose violence. Steve's like, what do you mean? He goes, your girlfriend texts me all the time. She booty calls me. We've been hooking up for ages. He's like, I can send you the evidence and the text. She's even sent me pictures that I can send you for proof. Obviously, none of this is true. Before I started to date Steve, I'd been dating this guy and he actually like leaked some of my pictures. So that is how he would have got pictures of me. So it actually happened that my best friends had to explain to Steve and back me up that this had actually happened. And it was at this moment that he realised that Dave and Amy were absolute lunatics and he blocked them both and they haven't spoken since. And me and Steve are still together. Am I wrong for telling my terminally ill sister that she can't have my mum's engagement ring? Story time. So my mum passed away when I was 7 and she gave my uncle / her brother her engagement ring. The ring was originally her mum's and it has been passed down through many generations. And eventually I would be able to give it to my daughter or son when they wanted to get married. So 2 years after my mum passed, my dad remarried. This woman had 2 daughters. I wasn't really that close to them, but I also didn't have anything against them. We'll call her eldest daughter Amy. Now, unfortunately, last month, Amy was diagnosed with terminal cancer. A few days after we got this diagnosis, her boyfriend actually proposed to her, said that Amy had mentioned my mum's engagement ring. She said she absolutely loved it because it was just so beautiful. He said that she had always dreamed of having my mum's engagement ring because of how stunning it was. So her boyfriend told my dad's wife, and then my dad's wife told my dad. All 3 of them were like, just give it to her because you know one day you're going to eventually get it back. They were saying how nice it would be for me to be able to fulfill her wishes given the circumstances. I made it very clear that I did not want to give them my ring. However, I did say I could give them a photo of it so that they could get it replicated. We love a compromise. Woo! Unfortunately not. I wish I could do my makeup without getting mascara all over my eyelid. And they did not like that suggestion one bit. God, I forgot how gorgeous this flawless filter is. And this was when they told me that I was denying her a family ring. But with all due respect, like, she is not part of that family. Amy never even met my mum. So the more I thought about it, I was a little confused as to how Amy knew about the ring in the first place. And this is when he told me that he had been showing Amy pictures of the ring throughout the years. He said that he thought this would have been a nice little bonding thing to do with them when they were younger. My stepmom literally begged me to give her this ring. It went as far as Amy even writing me a letter asking if she could have my mum's ring. She said it would be an absolute honour to get married wearing my mum's ring. And I'm getting shit from my dad, my stepmom, and my stepsister's fiance. So what do you think?
Am I in the wrong for eating all my pregnant wife's pickles and refusing to go buy her more even though she's craving them really badly? I, 28 male, hosted a work lunch where the main food was sub sandwiches, homemade. My wife, female 27, is 5 months pregnant and craves all pickles. Butter, garlic, dill, kosher, mini, etc. You name it and she craves it. Due to this extensive craving, which is understandable I guess, we have several jars of varied pickles. I used one jar of dill pickles for the sub sandwiches, which are her favorite, but still left over 7 jars of varying types of pickles. After the lunch was finished, she confronted me about eating all of her dill pickles and demanded that I go buy more. I argued that I only used 1 jar and never host anything, as this was our first house and we had just fully settled in after moving out of my parents' finished basement. And she told me that I should have asked her first, and that I was a B word for eating her pickles. I told her that she was being unreasonable and refused to buy her more until she finished all 7 jars of pickles that we still have and have had for months. Some are not even opened. She threatened me with a divorce and did not speak to me for 3 days until her ankles were too swollen to get on shoes by herself. Please help. Am I in the wrong here? If yes, I'll apologize and buy her 4 jars of her favorite dill pickles. If not, we may get a divorce, although this threat was likely due to her spiked hormones. Am I in the wrong for canceling our apartment signing after I found out that my boyfriend bought an expensive car? My boyfriend, 31 male, and I, 28 female, have been together for over 2 years. We have been living with roommates and been looking to move in for a while. It's expensive, and I have a dog, so it's been difficult finding a landlord that would be okay with a dog. My friend has been moving out and she has a dog and is willing to sublet for us. The landlord said they're okay with signing us if you want to stay after an 8-month sublet. It's a fairly good price near work, so I'm happy with it. We went through the credit check and we're about to sign it, but recently I discovered that my boyfriend bought another car. He already has a daily driver, but wants a weekend car, which I personally find ridiculous why anyone would need 2 cars. He has a Honda Accord, that's fine, and he's never complained about any problems with it. But recently he said that he bought another car. He isn't the best with money. He really likes to spend till the last dollar and doesn't have any savings. I've had to bail him out twice on rent. We both pay around a little over $1,000 plus utilities, and he makes around $70,000 a year, so he should have savings, but he doesn't. He did pay me back, but it was months later than what we agreed upon. So I was really happy that he did that, but I didn't realize that he bought such an expensive car. He didn't show it to me until Saturday when he picked me up in a Corvette. I didn't know what model it is, but I asked him how much it was, and he said it wasn't my business, and I was pissed off that he bought a clearly expensive car. He admitted later, because I refused to let it go, that it was $42,000 and he had traded in his Honda. Even then, his payments are almost $800 a month. I was so mad that he did that, especially because he asked me to cover the part of his share for the apartment security deposit a week before he bought the car. I called my friend and apologized. I told her that I can't sign the lease and she was okay with it. I hadn't paid the deposit yet, thankfully, and my roommate is okay with me staying, so I'm good. But my boyfriend's lease is ending and the landlord wants him out, so he's mad at me for canceling us moving in together because he still needs to move and he'll probably be paying more than if we moved in together. He yelled at me for butting into his business, saying it's not my business what he buys. I think it's fair, but he also doesn't have any money and bought an expensive car, so if anything goes wrong, I have to pay his share of rent. So am I in the wrong? My daughter turned into a horrible person and I don't know why. Don't get me wrong, I love her. She's my flesh and blood. I cannot stand being around her. She's trashy, political opinions on Facebook. Those, my wife is born in December and is crazy, do not mess with her or you'll find my body. Shirt spot for her boyfriend. Does not care if she looks bad or stinks in public. I'm not saying you have to be dressed to the nines to go to the grocery store, or even that you shouldn't wear pajamas. I mean visible stains, greasy hair, to go out to eat or clothes shopping. Claims she is country and redneck. We raised her in a small town, but it isn't a rural one. Not that it would make a difference or that rural living is bad, just that she's not country or redneck. I went to visit her the other week. She lives a state away. Her house is filthy and doesn't look nice. She has the money to live a nice life and she chooses to live in squalor. This is not the girl that I raised, and me and my husband cannot stand being around her, and it breaks my heart. She's not pleasant to talk to anymore. I'm sure some will ask if she's doing okay mentally. I've asked, and she says yes. I don't know why she changed this way. Her husband was redneck, but not trashy and disrespectful like this when we met. They've both given up, and I'm not sure why. I wish I could like my daughter, but I can't. I don't want to invite her for holidays. She smells like cigarettes and BO. I don't know what to do. Am I in the wrong for divorcing my wife after she terminated the pregnancy? I'm 27 male and my wife's 27 female, have been together for 4.5 years and married for 2. We've discussed kids before marriage and both agreed that we wanted kids. A couple weeks after we got married, we started trying for a baby and she got pregnant, but was having doubts about kids at the time. We discussed it a bit and she said that she didn't feel ready yet. I didn't push back and let her make the decision since she's the one who's pregnant. 3 weeks ago, she got pregnant again. I was excited, but she still wasn't sure. She said she wanted to wait a little longer, and I tried asking her for a timeline, but she just said that when she feels ready, she'd let me know. I asked her if she still wants kids at all, and she gave me a non-answer where she just said she doesn't know if she wants kids anymore, and wouldn't elaborate. I didn't want to pressure her to do anything, but I told her that I want to have kids and that I need to rethink our relationship if this is the route that she wants to go. She terminated the pregnancy and I started divorce proceedings a few weeks later. Some of our mutuals are saying that I was wrong to separate because of this, and she's called me a few times sobbing. I really want to be with her, but having kids and starting a family is really important to me, and it feels like she's been too unsure and unclear with what she wants and has been stringing me along in the process. So, am I in the wrong? Would I be in the wrong if I divorced my husband after the death of our child? My husband, Liam, 39 male, and I, 36 female, have been married for 11 years, together for 15. A couple of years ago, our little bundle of joy, our 6-year-old daughter, was snatched away from us in a car accident. I was back home when I received the call from the hospital. Liam was in the ICU for a month, while I received the terrible news of the death of our daughter who died on spot. He went in shock when he heard the news. Ever since then, Liam has completely withdrawn from me. He took off all the pictures which contained our daughter, turned her room into his study, and pretended as if our daughter never existed. I knew he was grieving. Many times I heard him silently weeping in our daughter's room. I tried to get him into therapy, or for us both to go to counseling, but he had shut down my offer every single time, and goes into rage whenever I mention it. He yells, he breaks things, and storms off, and doesn't come back home for a couple days, leaving me worried sick. He barely comes home nowadays, completely avoids me, and rejects my every attempt for comfort. Once, when I tried to make him understand that this isn't what our daughter would have wanted, he completely lost it, smashed a flower pot against the wall, and told me to go F myself, or better, die and never come back. Liam was never like this. He was very sweet, calm, and a patient man, and loved our daughter to death. So much so that her first word was Dada. I still love him, but I miss our daughter too. I need some comfort too. Neither of us have any siblings, and our close friends are in different countries. Liam has no contact with his mother, while his father had died shortly after the birth of our daughter. My parents tried to comfort me as much as they could. They told me to be patient with him, to help him get back on his feet. But I'm tired. I tried everything. Earlier, we used to share household chores, but now I've completely taken them on myself so that he can grieve in peace. I cook his favorite meals, which he throws away without even taking a single bite. The last straw was a couple months ago when I told him that if he doesn't go into therapy, I'd file for divorce. He coldly smiled at me and thanked me for showing him my true colors. He told me to go ahead with the divorce since I seemed so eager to ditch him. I feel guilty, horrible, and completely useless, but I just can't go on like this any longer. Should I give him more time? Would things get better? Would I be in the wrong if I leave him now when I'm supposed to be comforting him?